All right, and I'm pretty sure we're finally live. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but maybe that's something we can focus on in 2022, fixing up the connectivity problems. Maybe I got to invest in some better internet. But anyway, we're here now, and we're rock and rolling live. So this is BCH Builders episode or session 2. I think the podcast can be episodes and this can be sessions. So obviously ran the last one on the 5th of November. So a bit over a month ago, I guess, like five weeks ago. I said we'd do another one. We're here now. It took a little bit longer to get it all organized than I expected, but made it in the end. And that's sort of in the time in between, I've been thinking a lot about this project, about what it needs, and got some feedback from the first session and so on and so forth. So this second session, no guest, it's just me and Jet, really. But we're going to just cover off on, what we started last time, where things are at now, kind of what's been learnt in the meantime. Okay, so to get straight into it. So first things first. So the things that we were talking about last time that we were going to deliver was these two things here. Firstly, George said he was going to do some localized tutorial videos, how to buy BCH. He's having Christmas holidays, so he's not here for this session, but he can update us on that, in future at any point that makes sense to him, or when he's delivered it or what have you. But what I realized was we need to actually just put some little update tickers on the cards for the delivery blocks, so that so that the timeline is obvious, right, in terms of what's been. So let's maybe make this one white. How do I do that? Oops. I can't if I Zoom call. There we go. Right. So let's make that one white. And then the one that I promised that I was going to do, which I've added these little tags to, was the 5th of November, 2021, that I started this, or proposed it, I guess. Let's maybe make it started. And then the update is today. It's Sunday, the 19th of December, 2021. So I said I would make a little educational series of 10 5-minute videos that would walk through the sort of theory of Bitcoin Cash and everything from start to finish. Now, it's not 100% finished, but in a way it is 100% finished. So what I've done is I've written this thing. It's called Bitcoin in 1 hour. And I've written, here's the 10 episodes, right? Money, Bitcoin, philosophy, blockchains, government, etc. There's 10 episodes. So this is kind of my idea for the script for these videos, right? So I don't have the videos done quite yet, but I thought I'd get all the script done, which is done, and then also, put it out there, get some feedback from the community. I'm still not 100% happy with it myself. I will need to workshop this a little bit more, I think, and sort of make sure that the sections are about even. They have about the right 5 minutes of content each. But the idea is I also have a couple of people in mind that I'm going to send this to and let them know, okay, this is my breakdown of cryptocurrency. Read it and let me know, is it missing anything? Is there any common FAQs? Obviously on my site I do also have the FAQ section here, but this is supposed to be a self-contained introduction to cryptocurrency, the whole thing, in exactly like it says at the top, in 1 hour. So what I'm going to do, okay, cool, we're already getting some good feedback about that. So let me just, how do I hide this little floating panel? Here we go. All right, so so I haven't actually delivered this 100%, but I did make a good start on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this into a second block, and we're going to have green for done, because green isn't the color of done. And then we're going to make this just here, part 1, scripts. Yeah. Okay, cool. Started. updated and delivered 19th of December 2021. Okay, and here is the link. Perfect. And then obviously I'm going to still carry on with this. So let's get a little arrow going here. Oh, this little arrow. How does this work? Here. Perfect. So let's also make that green. And I wonder if I can make it, here we go, wider somehow. Figma.
I've never used Figma this way, so I can't even offer any assistance.
Yeah, no, it's here we go. Add text, line style. Surely there should be a line width setting here. I actually think Figma is pretty good, but yeah, I haven't used it as much in this capacity. So let's zoom out here a little bit. So let's move this out of the way. Who knows what that's about? We'll come back to that. So here's the start of the roadmap. Really, maybe let's just make it over here. Let's just make a new section. And we'll call it here, and we'll call it Roadmap 2022 in progress. Okay, cool. All right, so that was kind of the main thing I wanted to do, was get this one in. This one can be in white then, because I haven't delivered this one yet. We're going to call it, so we'll put this in here. It's obviously in the same stream, so you can see it is. So in progress. So I'm going to call this one here part 2, delivered scripts as animated and narrated videos. So yeah, I want to make them kind of similar to Naomi Brockwell. She's made some really, really good videos that are, oh, here's cryptocurrency, and you know, some of it's with her talking, and then some of it's with little graphics and animations and, you know, whatever, to add a little bit of extra you know, context in certain parts. So that's kind of my vision for what it's going to be like. And yeah, it's taken actually a decent amount of effort. I was surprised at like 1 hour of content, or 1 hour of writing sounds like, oh yeah, but when you actually have to get it all right, there is actually quite a lot in here. So yeah, people please can take a look at it, read through it, let me know, you know, what it's missing, or if you like it or not, or whatever. But you know, through a process of iteration, we should be able to create and then refine it down to as much, you know, as much as possible, but only in like a 1 hour package and everything. And it's got like the segment about Bitcoin Cash is actually quite close to the end, because I think you need to understand the rest of the concept sort of before you get onto that. And I do want to add maybe some diagrams and things that will add make it a bit easier to understand, you know, how the fork happened. But I just haven't had time for all of that. But the scripts is what I've done. So that's my update on delivery for this time. Here it is. You can go check it out. And the next upcoming one will be work on the actual videos. I hope so. That's my promise for the next session. Right. So that's the first thing we had to do, was check in on the items from last time. And the next thing I wanted to do was talk about some process stuff with this, because you know, a key part of it is obviously this, like, documenting it. So I created the initial document. I added like a little next session tag up here, and I put some like session notes in here. But I just sort of feel like that's not really that scalable, right? If it just turns into this 1 mega Google Drive document with kind of scrappy you know, things being added in here, I don't really like that so much. For once we have, you know, 3 sessions or 5 sessions, it just kind of is hard to follow what is actually going on. So I like this quite a lot, and I thought maybe a good thing to add, I mean, maybe we could even represent it here visually, but
What if
Yeah, do
rather
you have
than
some
just
thoughts?
using a document, use
Yeah.
a markdown file with like built-in links to each section of this like Figma board?
Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of doing. Something like that was having a GitHub repository where the notes were just a markdown document each.
Yeah.
Because actually, I don't actually. Let's just have a look here on GitHub. I don't think most people realize, but if you go on a actual markdown document, like here, for instance, and you like edit it, there is actually like a quite nice little sort of editor. So you don't even need to be necessarily a like a huge coder. You do need to be a little bit technical to sort of understand what's going on, but you don't need to be a code expert to edit and get involved in markdown documents. But then it all comes with Git stuff saved and whatever. That's kind of nice
Let me
too.
see
So yeah.
if I can find a markdown cheat sheet. I'll post it in the chat here.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, maybe let's just do it that way then. Let's just start it here. How do I?
Oh yeah, this is perfect. Okay,
Let me just
markdownguide.org/cheat sheet.
All right, so let's make a new one and let's just call it BCH Builders. Okay, documentation and references for BCH Builders. Okay. Let's see, let's add a readme. No, actually, no, we don't need a readme file. Add git. Oh no, actually, let's add it. Git ignore. I'll put that in later. Don't need a license. That's fine here. Okay, so now let's just see about doing this. So we already have the kind of the initial stuff here. So I'll tell you what, I will copy all this in over here, but let's just call this here. Okay. To do add rest of founding doc content. So I'll put that in there. And then also, I'm pretty sure there's a way you can add some new folders. Here we go. Create new file. I wonder if you can put things in different folders or if that's a real
Yeah, so when you do it, just add in the name of your folder before the file name. So like
yeah, okay.
I don't know.
So let's call this sessions like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're going to call this I wonder if you, yeah, number 2, and that is 19th December 2021. Maybe you organize it by year as well too. Maybe that's kind of overkill. I mean, there's only going to be, no, I think we want to think big, right? So let's do it like this: sessions 2021, and then we go. It should be. I'm just trying to imagine it how it should be. You know, so it will automatically organize them all in a hierarchy by date, right? So it should be 2021, and then we'll just call it issue, yeah, and it should be 12-19 session 2. Okay, cool. So let's just call it December 19th session 2. Okay, so obviously when you're having any kind of document like this or doing any session like this, we got to have here action points. This is what's actually going to be delivered. So finish the BCH takeover. I love it. And Zwets, welcome to the chat. Okay, so action points that we have for this is to complete the copy across the rest of the main file of the founding into the README. So that's something I got to do. And let's see, what if we just create that there? Bam, straight in there. Okay, nice. Okay, perfect. All right. So yeah, what I wanted to do was have this and then also have it complemented. I guess we should add a link to this repo into the Figma document, because these are the main two things here. Here we've got the explanatory doc. So let's create a bit more room here. Call this here GitHub repo. Bash that in there. Okay, cool. And yeah, I don't know, maybe it can have its own organization or whatever at some point, but for the time being, that's fine. Okay, so we got the roadmap things, and I wanted to also put in here a little process document as well. So I'm going to call this one process.md.
There is in, I think, settings, you can set up templates for people when they make PRs and stuff.
Yeah, I've done that before as well. You put you put a .github PR file or something like that, and it automatically picks up from it. Yeah, so we should look at that too. But so the first thing is accountability, because yeah, unlike the podcast, these sessions so far don't really have a structure to them, but I think we should develop one. So first thing is accountability. So updates on the in progress roadmap items. Okay, then number 2, we're going to have to refer back to the to-do items in the previous session's notes. Obviously, we don't have one of them this time, and see if they have been implemented. Okay, cool, got that. And then step 3 is discuss any recent feedback. And then number 4 is discuss any upcoming potential roadmap items or ideas. Okay, so that's a pretty basic framework for how I feel things should be working. And now anybody can just look in here and see this. Right, so we already did that. We obviously, in this case, we don't have any, but we've started a document and a process for that. Okay, recent feedback. So obviously last time I ran this a bit over a month ago, and I put some notes down in here about kind of what happened. So I think, I think the community responded well to it, to be honest. I think a lot of people said, oh, wow, this looks really cool. It's really interesting. I was very pleased that a lot of people liked, there wasn't disputes about it being another one of those foundations, right? I really, really wanted to be clear that we were not making another foundation and another thing where there was going to be a centralized power grab, and, it was going to devolve into politics and infighting and all that. I mean, obviously I'll be a bit of a driving force to, and we're hosting it on the Bitcoin Cash podcast channel, like to start with initially, but my idea and my hope is that I can draw in a few more people as time goes on. And from there, it will be possible for, it to just become a community run thing. But we've got to create some initial momentum. That's kind of how we're doing it for now. But nobody was really unclear about that. I don't think there wasn't a lot of overhead that got started with people worrying about how it was all going to be exactly done. People just like, this is a cool idea, and it's clear that it's not going to be another foundation. So they liked that a lot. One thing that I did notice was that the lack of a specific time makes the coordination quite hard. Obviously the podcast, I just run it whenever I want it and according to the guest, and there's a different guest every time, so it can be different based on their time zones. But this is kind of the opposite of that, where it's supposed to be, instead of finding individual people every time, it should just be everybody coming together, and that kind of needs to have a centralized a central time that everybody knows it's going to be at this time, because there's also a lot of people that were interested in maybe being a part of it or maybe contributing in the chat or something like that. But for them, it's hard, obviously, if the stream just goes up at any exact random time. So that's another thing I think needs to be put on the to-do list for the next session, is to decide on a good regular time. So originally I thought it could be once per 3 weeks, I think was what we were going to try and shoot for. But with the experience of one month, it seems like the 3 weeks was just too quick. I wasn't able to get enough stuff done with how much other things there was going on. So I kind of feel like maybe it should be once per month, because that seems to be about the rate that it is currently able to be delivered. And on top of that, I thought maybe a good time would be like a Sunday evening-ish. So right now it's about like 5 p.m. GMT, maybe something like the last Sunday of each month. And that's kind of an awkward time in some senses, because obviously Sunday people are not used to working and being in that productive mindset. But on the other hand, it is also a time that people can feasibly make it, if provided they're committed, obviously, even if they've got another job, right? And that should be a big part of it, is that when they're starting the ecosystem, we're going to have people who have a full-time job, both of us included, obviously. So in that scenario, if you have it at Monday at, midday or something, then everybody's just going to be like, look, we're at our job, we've got other commitments. So yeah, might be kind of awkward in that sense, but I kind of don't see a way about that. I don't think that Richard Mullins, good to see you, mate. I don't think Monday, to Friday would be any better. I can't see Friday night or Saturday night being any better either, because that's the times that people go out and socialize. So I think, yeah, maybe once a month on Sunday evenings at something like an evening time slot, Europe time, is kind of like doable, because that's sort of earlier in the day in America. And I don't know about accommodating sort of an Asian time zone as well too, which would be in the future. So if it was instead at like 1 or 2 o'clock GMT, 1 p.m. or 2 p.m., then that would mean that the Asian people could be involved if they were at the Asian or Australian time zones, could be involved if they wanted to stay up late on Sunday night, which would be a bit of a stretch. But if we've got to make it happen somehow, and it would still be kind of feasible for Americans if they wanted to get up early on their Sunday. Any thoughts on this?
So, yeah, I could see this. I think this is one of those things that it might be better off to structure it by, like, so we'll have the BCH Builders Asia and a BCH Builders, or, a BCH Builders North America, like, where it's just like, because those are it's hard to coordinate across those time zones. And GMT, you can coordinate with one or the other, but to do all three at once is incredibly difficult, speaking from experience. So that might be better off to just like maybe have it's like a day and night shift kind of thing. You have the notes left over from one going into the other, but I don't know about having them all at the same time. But this is also one of those things that we might not have to deal with this right now, because
Exactly.
it's just you and I, right?
That's exactly what I was thinking. So, all right, well, how about, just because I was trying to keep it as open as possible, that the first 1 or 2 people that want to collaborate are super critical, right? So
Yeah.
I was sort of trying and make a way for for us to be open to any party like that. And it seems, BCH Taker agrees, right? Time zones are a big issue, but I think maybe it makes sense. So let's just put a note in here. So can be split into 2 sessions. Well, maybe we just make it an East and a West session. So the where this is obviously the West session, right, for Europe and America, and then the East session can be for Australasia, basically. And anybody who's kind of in the middle of that, well, there's not too many places that don't sort of fall into one of those 2 broad camps. Okay, so we'll start with the West session, and maybe if it comes to be we find somebody who wants to run the East session, then that's great too. So I think maybe about this kind of time slot on Sunday evenings. And I thought also the last Sunday of each month I thought could be kind of good as well too, because it adds into the like flavor of it kind of being like a tech stand-up kind of thing where you have team retrospectives and stuff. The end of a month is a pretty natural point that everybody, it's the end of a month, right? So you can see, what did we do this month? We delivered this kind of thing. If you do it at the start of a month, it might be more it might just feel more forward looking, as like planning things out. But I kind of want it to be more of a, this is what's already delivered, because it is in a decentralized ecosystem. It's much easier, and we've seen a lot of problems with, it's much easier to hype up, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and then like nothing gets delivered. I think the mindset needs to be the opposite, which is no hype, here's what actually exists. So yeah, I don't know. I think maybe that's a good idea. All right, cool. So let's say maybe that can be the kind of times that we'll shoot for. So this one was a bit of an exception because it's Christmas, and let's say except December, which is a week earlier to accommodate Christmas, New Year period. Okay, cool. So let's just make it that's going to be the goal then, to deliver have these sessions at that time on last Sunday of each month. So I guess the next one will be at the end of January. So that's about 5 weeks away. So actually we can just even look that up now and find out what is the, okay, calendar 2021, 2022. Okay, so the next one will be 30th of January, 2022. Okay. So this makes next session 30th of January, 2022. Let's say 5 p.m. GMT on Sunday. Okay, cool. So that's that sorted. Right. So that was one thing I think, was there needed to be a consistent time where people who wanted to carve out the space in their schedule and just rock up could do that. So that's the first thing, and I think that's something that will improve next time. We'll announce the time earlier, so everybody knows, and anybody who wants to be involved can be. The second thing that I really noticed was a lot of people, or not a lot, but a few people that I talked to sort of said they wanted to be involved in the chat. Basically, they didn't necessarily want to be on the actual call, or they might have anonymity concerns and stuff like that, and I do want to facilitate that as well too, right? It's very important to the cryptocurrency ecosystem that people are able to contribute anonymously and just have their ideas stand on their merits, right? It's been that way since Satoshi, and it should always be that way, because the people in our industry are obviously not necessarily in the position where they want to be publicly known, but they might have good ideas to contribute. So at the moment we've got the Twitch chat, and it seems like that is working a little bit. I'm actually really pleased to see we've got a few people chatting in there today, so maybe that's a good start. But there might be something else that we could do there. What if we made a Telegram group? That could also be good as well too. So you know what, I'll add that as one of the action points as well to do too here, is to make a Telegram group. And maybe people can contribute in the Telegram group live as well, like while the show is going on. So let's just call this summary notes, and we've got here these buttons here. Make a Telegram group for discussion during and between shows. Between sessions. All right, cool. That's the second thing. Okay, great suggestion there. Thank you for that. The BCH takeover. All right, so we had one thing we should consider if we make a chat is needed to be filtered quite a bit. Quality in action over noise and debates. Yeah, I agree. So maybe even, I don't know if there's a way to do this on Telegram, but maybe you could even lock it so that there was no messages available, and it would literally only be when the stream was live that people could be chatting in there, and then we can have it displayed in the sidebar, because there's already 100 places for people to discuss BCH at every different time of the day or night, and I don't want this to turn into something that is just general BCH chatter or whatever. It needs to be actionable stuff. Here's what we're doing, focused on the roadmap. And so speaking of the roadmap, so I don't want this session to go on for too much longer, but I saw Discord might be better for that. Okay, I'll look into that. Could be Telegram, Discord. Do you have any thoughts, Jet?
Yeah, if we go with a multi-platform approach, then best situation might actually be to write a bot that bridges the two, and that bot also controls essentially if a message gets posted outside of this time, it's automatically deleted with a message that says, hey, this chat is only available between these hours during this day, kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can have a bot Discord. Okay, so Discord is lockable. I didn't actually even know that was a feature, but that could be actually super useful. I mean, it's kind of a networks effect thing, right? It just needs to be, where's the place that you can, sort of everyone goes. But at the same time, I don't mind providing 2 or 3 different options, because we can probably accommodate that in terms of just having a little sidebar on the stream of the Twitch chat, obviously, and then like the Telegram, and then maybe the Discord, and then maybe that was the 3 options that we supported, and it's all going to be centrally sort of coordinated by what we're talking about on the stream anyway. So all right, so we'll look at maybe we can have those 2. Cool. So all right, so delivered that's great. And then the one other topic that I wanted to touch on as well, I've got a couple of different things here really, but without turning this into a huge discussion about everything, I had an idea for a service called chat.cash, which people can also take a look at, and I'm going to add it into the roadmap, not as the next thing. It's not really seriously proposed, but I think I've even put it in here. Did I put it in here? No. Okay. Growth. I'm going to put it in the growth category, just like the Shark Tank. We're maybe not going to get to that immediately, but I had this idea called chat.cash, which is basically this idea that you could have noise.cash has done a really good job of distributing loads of BCH to loads of little people, via basically in a faucet, but where they actually do some work to earn that cash, and then it also helps. What was that?
Sorry, we had someone go to enter the room here.
Okay. It might be Ryan or Vlad for the
it was
podcast
Vlad.
Episode.
He left.
He can join right now if he wants. That's fine if he wants to come on the stream. But anyway, okay. So anyway, I had this idea, chat.cash, and the idea was basically that we could the community needs a sort of airdrop style things like noise.cash, which allow people to earn BCH online. And I also think that there's a bit of a problem with everything being too asynchronous and disconnected, and that new people, when you onboard them, you say Twitter Space would be good to do more regularly also. Yes, and I do have an idea for that. I'm pretty sure that it's already on here.
Man, Twitter's doing all this new stuff, and I haven't used any of its features.
Those new spaces are kind of interesting. Yeah, I have this one.
I know someone that got a job through those Twitter spaces.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, exactly. The BCH takeover. Have a look at this idea. So, there's nothing here, right? But we were thinking of having this thing called BCH Radio, which was basically that you could set up a kind of a schedule where, let's say every day, or maybe even 24/7. If you had enough people, you could have somebody running a Twitter space called BCH Radio that was just, whoever wanted to jump in there and talk about BCH. And I kind of had the similar idea with this chat.cash, which was that you would just have a Zoom call, or maybe you would combine them somehow, where there was just always someone online, right? So because I just find you have this problem where you are talking to somebody about crypto and you say, hey, yeah, BCH is awesome. And you show them, you send them like $1 or whatever, and things are going great. But then, it's busy because you're at the bar or there's a party going or whatever. And you just like, you don't have time to talk to them about anything. You just kind of got to trust that you just say, oh yeah, so look into it a bit more and sort of figure it out on your own. But I thought it would be awesome if you could just say, look, just go to chat.cash, and they could go on there, and 24/7 there was somebody on that thing who then they could ask questions to. But the point would be, because it would be 24/7, it doesn't matter if they, wait a couple days and then they check in on it. Like, it didn't need to be at that exact moment when you're busy and there's different things going on. And that then everybody would be able to just check in with the community, whenever they needed to, right? And to incentivize this, because the problem is the same as everything, creating a network effect where you actually have like a conversation sucks. If there's no one in a Zoom call, then the first person will leave and then just quit, right? And it will never build that traction. So instead, I thought you could have it so that you could have like $10 that just paid out to everyone in the chat at the end of every hour, basically, provided they'd been in the call, let's say, for at least 15 minutes or 5 minutes or something like that. So that if you were the first person who was just waiting in there to talk about BCH, you could just cash $10 an hour just for sitting in a Zoom call, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people that would do that. But then as soon as the second person joins, well, now you're both getting $5 each. That's not too bad. But obviously now you have someone to talk about BCH with, right? And so the more people that joined, obviously everyone's sort of payouts would get smaller, but there would be more activity. It would be more interesting. There would be more things going on. So the money wouldn't be as relevant anyway, right? And in that way, you could hopefully create a situation of having a perpetually on, like a BCH support line, basically, that anybody could just join, and then they could, if they wanted to just chat about it, and then who knows what kind of, connections would come out of that, right? You just discover, oh, somebody who's in this completely different country, well, they're into BCH, and then they know how to do graphic design. And actually, I need a graphic designer. So, obviously I have some basis of trust with them because they're in the BCH community. They found their way into this, and maybe I can ask around, other people that were on the call at the same time. And then, then you're building those direct connections. And the whole time people are earning BCH, getting paid out from being online, right? So it is also kind of like that airdrop system. So that was kind of my idea. And you can do it initially just if you had 3 people who would work for a certain rate, and you could just hire them 8 hours a day each to be that initial person. And so like if you're paying $20 per hour, then that would be nearly $500 a day, nearly $3,500 a week, $15,000 a month, and $175,000 a year. So that's obviously, decent amount of money. But on the other hand, it's still not, totally out of reach if the concept prove viable, because you can just take community donations and you don't need to run it. You don't need a full $175,000. You can just run it for probably not a day, but you could run it for a week and see if it got traction. And then if it did, you could kind of keep funding it and get the community to chip in if they saw that it was working.
I have a question that might be a dumb question because I don't know enough of the
no
technicals.
Dumb questions. Yeah.
Wouldn't this be a good situation to have a DAO?
Yeah, I guess so.
Because then if people want, like if the community wants a say on how it works, then they just get some of this governance token. That governance token can help pay for like the cost of running this operation. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried of DAOs because I feel like maybe they, especially initially, they add more overhead than they sort of problems they solve. Initially, I think you would just run it, just somebody has the wallet, like I could have the wallet. Whoever was funding, the first week of it, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't have the time and effort to do all this stuff now, but I could just have exactly. A DAO just creates dramas and stuff. I agree. So
I agree, but if okay, so here's the thing: if you in the chat know about DAOs and you are like, this is a good situation for it, then I'm at least willing
let
to
us know.
hear it out. Yeah, because like I said, I don't know enough of the technicals, but when I think of what a DAO is, like an autonomous organization, well, that feels fitting.
Yeah, it does. And like, I haven't looked into it as well, but the Ethereum community has like Gitcoin and different, programs like that. But the BCH takeover has a good point. It says basically like flip starters, like you could run this, and this is why I'm putting this idea out there. Anybody can do this. I would consider doing this, except that I'm super busy at the moment. But maybe in a couple of months, if nobody's done it, I'll look into it, right? But you could run a flip starter for this $3,000, which would be one of the smaller flip starters. Like, it wouldn't actually be asking a super huge amount, especially if you already had some rep in the community, that you were known. Just present this plan and say, we're going to run this for a week, hire 3 people, get them to sit on the call, 24 hours a day, and it's going to airdrop to anybody else who sits in the call, and then see what comes out of it, right? And Flipstarter as well is pretty perfect for that too. Yeah, exactly. And the whales would support this. I would support it. Some of the money that comes from people doing prompt.cash. Payments could be reinvested into that. Like, I can just see it creating a really nice ecosystem. So anyway, the ideas are all there in this Google Doc if anyone wants to take a look at it. And maybe it's here we go, see also chat.cash, and maybe that would be similar to the Twitter Spaces idea too. Maybe it could be integrated with that somehow. Okay, cool. So I just wanted to address one more thing quickly in the next 10 minutes. We did start a little bit late, but we're going to have the podcast at 6, and I did want to give us a quick breather before we started on that. But I also just wanted to touch quickly on these 3 things that Cheap Lightning made this document called $1 million, where he went around and asked a bunch of people, 30 BCH people, basically, what do you think BCH needs if we had $1 million? Not that anybody necessarily has $1 million that they're willing to, throw into these ideas, but as a thought experiment, right? And so everybody wrote a bunch of stuff, and you can just look it up here on read.cash at Cheap Lightning and read the full details. But basically what came out of it was that these are the 3 things that the community thinks they need, which don't surprise me in any way, but it was interesting that these were the ones and this was the priority order. So the first thing was basically marketing. A lot of people were like, look, let's just spend it on marketing. Nobody had supreme details of how exactly that would work, but basically a user awareness, end users was the number one priority. I think everybody just has the sense that the scene is just a bit too small. There's a lot of potential in it, but like just more people, kind of an idea. The second thing that was sort of demanded, so this was probably about 60% of what was asked for, and then this was maybe like 30%, was business adoption and real commercial use cases. So, the community is just trying to find or think of or have on its mind commercial stuff that we can do with BCH that doesn't involve, speculation or gambling, which is pretty much what 80% of the other coins are doing, or DeFi yield farming, something that was like people, buying real products like BCH merchandise, or like remittances, which is what George is always a big fan of, or those kind of things that are real people, or like micropayments, for content, right? Like K.im or prompt.cash, like those kind of projects really getting a bit more oomph and a bit more power into them. So that was the second thing. And then the third thing was the developer and payments infrastructure. So having some better documents, making it easier for builders to find what was going on and to spin up a JS library and stuff. And I think these obviously all of this stuff kind of falls in the wheelhouse of what I'm hoping that this BCH Builders can sort of facilitate. So I was going to add these to the roadmap. We sort of had these categories that we came up with before called tools and growth, and the other one called online marketing. Okay, let me just add another one here called online marketing. And I think that basically matches up to these criteria that came out of this one, right? So this one is basically user adoption. So let's just call it priority 1. And I mean, maybe even this could be split down into those 3 categories. At the moment, there's not quite enough activity to really justify it. But this one here, so I think this one's really priority 3, which is developer and payment tools. So this, let's just spread this out a bit. So I think here, and then this second one here, growth. This was kind of related to the one above, but this one's more like growth. This one's more like business to business, commercial use cases. Okay. Online marketing. So this is like end user adoption. So yeah, I just thought it was interesting that was sort of what the community seems to have on its mind, that these are the potential. So like on online marketing, that could be like this Twitter radio idea, or also what did I do with that cache one? Chat.cache. Here we go. Yeah, so let me put this up here. Yeah, so the whale pool, that's more like business funding and stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's kind of the three streams as the community is sort of seeing it right now. And that if we got the roadmap is kind of what's going on. I think some of this stuff can go chill over here a bit. And so this would be like the next upcoming stuff. So this is what we're doing now, is roadmap in progress items. And then these are the things that the community wants us to deliver following up. So yeah, I think that will pretty much do it, because I want to have a quick break for 15 or 20 minutes. And then we'll be doing the podcast episode at 6. So yeah, any final thoughts here in the chat? Anybody who's watching? But I think not bad progress. Got the first block of the roadmap turned green. Now
That's
got a little looks goose, exactly. Goose level. Now you gotta, I love this when it's misspelled. I have a joke with my mate about this because we always misspell it as well too. We always just say goose, Goos instead of good, just because it's funny and because you often, they're right next to each other on the keyboard. So looks goose. All right, looking goose. So we've got the summary notes, the action points. We'll check in on these next time, make sure we got them ticked off. We've got a process document now for what we're going to do. We'll lock in the time on Sunday, 30th of Jan. We'll have that announced well ahead of time. We'll get it set up so people can talk in the chat, and I will work on making these adoption videos. And if anybody has any ideas for these priorities, then obviously they can let me know, or they can just, well, I don't think everyone has edit permissions, but they can let me know and I'll add it in to the priorities. Cool. So that will do it. Thanks for checking in, everyone who came in the chat here. Richard Mullins, Zuad Skykis, Omar2BCH, the BCH Takeover, BCH Space. Really, really good to have you. I'm glad to see that by announcing it earlier, we managed to get a little bit more traction. So yeah, that'll do it. And we'll be back on the stream in 20 minutes with the final Bitcoin Cash podcast episode of the year. So see you in 20.